All right, we're back. Another Chew Quieter, and I have a question for you, Armando.
Yeah.
What do you think about what do you think about the TV show Seinfeld?
Um, it was never my favorite show. I watch it. There's some stuff that I think is funny, but it was really never like something that I really watched. Um, just not really me. But I guess I'm crazy because I'm not a Seinfeld fan.
I am. I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. I will drop Seinfeldisms all the time if I'm not careful. Um, I watch it on Netflix when it used to be on Hulu. I watched it on Hulu when there was reruns on I think it was Fox. I used to watch them on Fox. So I mean, I've watched each episode probably, oh man, easily 100 times. No exaggeration. But I've also liked that with other TV shows like MASH.
Yeah, not a Mash fan.
Wow.
Just not my style of comedy. Never has been. Growing up, that was my grandfather's show, and we go to the house, and whenever it was going to be on, it just that was his show. But I just never got into Mash. I don't know what it is.
All right, let me guess. You liked, I'm going to guess, Greatest American Hero,
Um,
Three's Company.
mm, maybe when I was younger, maybe because my parents watched it, but I would never go back and watch any of those shows.
Really? What about MacGyver?
Um, Not really MacGyver. I'm definitely if I'm going old TV, it's going to be old westerns,
Bonanza.
Bonanza, Rifleman, shows like that.
Would you consider Little House on the Prairie on your watch list?
Little House on the Prairie, I would watch, yes. And then you get into weird stuff like Columbo. That I love Columbo. Oh, and the Rockford Files. I watched the Rockford Files
Oh,
just
come
recently,
on. Jim Rockford was just the
and
man.
it was a terrible show, but I love
It was
it.
god awful.
Yeah,
And so was Greatest American Hero.
yeah.
Greatest American Hero was god awful, but it was just something about it that I'm just like Gilligan's Island. Gilligan's Island was just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You knew they were in a storm though. That boat wouldn't have made it in that lagoon.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, Gilligan's Island definitely. I Love Lucy, and
Yeah.
then I like getting like really old classic shows like Leave It to Beaver. My favorite Martian. There's a
Uh-oh. What happened? Lost you there for a second.
yeah. I'm playing with it again. Apparently the cable on this camera is not good.
Let me ask you, do you remember when Dudley went to the bicycle shop?
Dudley went.
Yeah. Different Strokes. Remember the
Oh,
bicycle shop?
yeah, yeah.
That was I wonder if that was the first introduction to America on what pedophilia is and child molestation and that sort of thing. Because it was kind of like a big deal when that came out. People were like, "Oh, they're broaching a subject that no one ever has before."
Yeah, just definitely just weird. It's funny how even today that whatever the social
Mhm.
topic is becomes what's on TV, and it was probably um, less intense of a issue back then than it is now. But it seems like everything now is just like, what did we just watch? Watching
Mhm.
Perry Mason on
Is that any
HBO,
good?
and it's first season was great. Second season, there's just too much crap in there. It's like, okay, it's set in early 1900s, and all of a sudden everyone's gay and everyone's
That wasn't
lesbian.
really a thing.
Like, this
It wasn't
didn't
open.
exist like that. It wasn't like that. It wasn't even. It's all behind doors. They're hiding it and stuff like that, which would be expected. But I mean, it's like everyone. It's like, come on, this is like just too much. And I don't care what you do, go do it. But it's just weird that it's just so much promotion of this and just the detraction away from everyday life and everyday problems, and this has now become the main social
Yeah.
cause of the
It's just
century.
become a virtue fest. If it's the flavor of the month, your virtue is upon that subject now, and all of a sudden that person is the subject matter expert in that. All of a sudden, remarkably, they know everything.
Yeah, and if you have any apprehension against it, then you hate it. It's not that it's a hate thing. It's just, come on now. There's a point when it's overboard. Just the same with heterosexuality and any other thing. It's when you're trying to push something that hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, I'm done.
And the backlash, if you're against anything or just don't agree with it, is that you're a bigot, you're a Nazi, you're a white supremacist, you're whatever. And it all started from the word hater. If we never had that word hater, I don't think we would have derivatives of that in that regard, because it's now used in that same caliber. It doesn't have the same potency as it once did, because it's now a term that's an umbrella for a disagreement, like hater. Someone doesn't like ice cream, chocolate ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
That dude's a hater. Oh my God, he's a hater.
Yeah. And this idea of inclusivity is like, we can't all agree on what we're going to have for dinner. How are we all going to agree on what we think is okay for sexuality? It's just go do your own thing. No one needs to know that I have moose tracks in my freezer. You like vanilla? Go have vanilla. I'm gonna have moose tracks over here. Just doesn't matter.
You say
Just,
caramel, I might say caramel.
Exactly.
I know exactly what you mean. It's just spelt different.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, just go enjoy it.
You hate Seinfeld. I love Seinfeld.
Go do it. And I don't hate Seinfeld. That I wouldn't say I hate Yacht Rock. I don't hate Seinfeld. I just don't get it. There's some stuff that's super funny and I can watch, and I've watched, but just not my my main go-to.
The humor
is going to be the Seinfeld.
Is lost now on a lot of it, because some of it goes back to when we had home phones, landlines, and call waiting, things of that nature, pay phones. So a lot of the humor is kind of lost now because of that. Technology is obviously way advanced now, but there's still a lot of the humor that is there. For example, we're talking about people being gay. There's an episode where they're just messing around because they know someone is eavesdropping, and they started playing gay. Next thing you know, they're like, hey, there's nothing wrong with being gay. But that's just not us.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Just the way we've changed things, the way we've changed our lives.
What do you do?
Definitely on nothing. You just keep going on.
It's unfortunate. It is unfortunate though.
Change the channel.
Just pushed on us as it is. I don't know if it's Um, I don't know if there is a marketing reason behind it other than the virtue aspect or the main reasoning of maybe a reverse cancel culture type thing. Like if this company doesn't go out and look virtuous, then we're going to go after them and we're going to boycott. Do you think there's any of that?
Well, yeah, there's definitely the corporate side looking at um, them being canceled, them losing market share, their loss of revenue. But you also look on the opposite side. Look what Bud Light just did. Bud Light is typically swill for Americans. And if you talk to anyone in British, it's swill for fat Americans who eat hot dogs and bratwurst. And know your target audience. Know who you're catering to. Their marketing plan was, yeah, you want to get away from the frat boy and the toxic masculinity, but know your customer base. That's just poor planning, poor vision, and a terrible way to try to bring in new customers by alienating a group of customers that don't really want to sit and stand by that.
And there's something we said about companies that are run from like PBR. I mean, their tall boys have been 99 cents forever. And they know that they're going to keep that price because people are going to buy them all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they don't go in on these wild marketing tangents because it's the flavor of the month.
Yeah, no, it's just they know that they're paying the bills, and whenever they need to pay the bills, they just keep on with that line and stay in the lane.
The demise is started.
Well, I seriously thought today might have been the start of the Civil War.
What happened today? Did I miss something?
Looks like the Trump indictment thing this morning was supposed to be like some major thing. They were talking about, well, they're on watch for resurgences and attacks and this and this and that. And it was like, well, no one on this side is going to do that. Everyone's just going to go yell and scream and say whatever they want to say, but no one's really going to go start.
Yeah, the left thinks there'll be another January 6th, which is probably what that whole thing's about. But let's not forget, I can't remember the year, just because of my brain, but didn't BLM and Antifa start burning and rioting in front of the White House at one point when Trump was in office?
Yeah. Yep. They did all that. And I don't know, the difference is breach of security and being inside the building rather than just being outside is the differentiator.
So now we have certain what do you want to call them? That guidelines and values
guidelines
for metrics. Okay.
Oh yeah. Well, if we do it, it's okay because we're in a positive. You do it, it's all just negative. So there's your sides.
This really sounds like when I was a kid and my brother and I used to argue and fight, and he would hit me, I'd hit him back harder, and he'd cry. He'd go run and tell my mom. My mom would get mad at me and say, "Why'd you hit him? Stop hitting him." Well, he hit me first. That doesn't give you any right to hit him back.
Exactly. It's the same thing. It's never that. I think we had the same problem with my oldest and my youngest. There's 5 years between them, so they were kind of different age groups at the under 10 age. And it used to be that my oldest would get in trouble for being mean to the little sweetheart princess that was a little angel until she got busted one day starting it. And the older one's like, see, that's what she always does to me. And that changed a lot that day. It was like, oh, she's a little freaking demon inside. Yes, big time. She knows how to work the room. She's good.
And this is the one that is just going to graduate soon.
She's going to graduate next year.
Yep. What are you going to do when there's no kids in the house?
I don't know. It's kind of like that way right now. I just go fishing.
Where do you go fishing in the desert?
I don't know. We have lakes out here.
I thought there was.
We don't just have a desert. This is a living desert. Phoenix, everyone believes it's just a desert, but the Sonoran Desert is actually green and flowers. And funny is that people don't even realize this, but the saguaro cactus blooms once a year. It's typically beginning of May, and it blooms these beautiful white flowers all over them. And that's what happens. The desert comes alive through certain times of the year. Protected? But yes, yeah, you can't look at one wrong, or else you get fined or go to jail. But we have everything here. I mean, there's a lake system up here, not too far from us. It's about 2 hours from my door. You can be at one of the lakes. About an hour and a half, you can go down the Salt River. You can go tubing down the river, which is a blast. Just an ice chest, a tube, and some sunglasses, and plop your ass in the tube and float down the river and drink your ass off.
I've always wanted to do that.
It's a great time,
especially when I lived in Colorado. That's the big thing, is to float down the Platte. But that water is freezing cold. I mean, it's pretty much, it's coming off the mountain.
Yeah.
That has snow on it.
Little different story. Yeah, a little different story here than there. So you go out there and it's 105 and you're in 65-degree water. It's not so bad. You actually, after a while, as your skin starts to turn this color red, you're welcoming to jump into that water or splash yourself with whatever water's in there.
Man.
But no, it's great here. But last year I went deep sea fishing for the first time in a long time, and went out for tuna. And I didn't catch anything last year because just the cycle of the tuna. And next Wednesday we leave again, so I'll head out to San Diego. It's a 6-hour drive to San Diego. And we're going to do a day and a half on Pacific Queen, leaving out of San Diego. And right now, over the weekend, they went out for a 2-day trip, left, filled the boat to capacity, hauled back to shore, unloaded the boat, and went back out so they could go back and get as much as they could get for their guys' time. So hopefully that continues to next week, so I can actually come back with the fish. Kidding.
So when you say you missed them, is there a migration pattern, or was it what happened?
Don't know. There's some out there that get patchy, so I probably has to do with if you listen to the superstitions. It's moon cycle creates a big thing. I'm sure it's part of migration and spawning and stuff like that. So they travel in and out of certain areas. So last year it was like every day I follow the boats that down in San Diego and watch them just bring in just huge freaking 300, 400 pound cows on there, averaging 120 to 180 bluefin tuna, and then getting a bunch of yellows out there and 40 to 80 pounds and just filling the boat. And then about 3 weeks before we went, it just slowed completely. Where there was a few here, a few there. And then when we went out there, I think we did a day and a half, and there might have been 6 bluefin over the rail that were probably 80 to 100 pounds. And then there was a couple of yellows, maybe like 4 yellows that were 30 to 50 pounds. So hoping that they stay where they're at for the next week and I can go out and catch some.
That's something I haven't done. I mean, as far as the hunting, gathering type thing, I've hunted. I've never fished. And I have a lot of friends that say I'm crazy, that it's the best thing in the world.
It's fun. It's just I did it when I was younger, when I lived in Southern Cal. Went out a couple. We'd do like the overnight trips or few hour trips inshore, then in days or day and a half offshore, and never really went for tuna. Just went offshore for other fish. And then I got this opportunity last year to join. It's almost like a family trip with my buddy Ray, who helps him with Hero, and a bunch of his family members, some of their friends and stuff like that. So everybody that is on that boat is related somehow by friendship or family. So it was a really nice trip. It was fun. We had a great time. It was a lot of laughs, time out there. And then we're actually going to do a August trip, a 2-day trip in August for Hero. And we're taking 22 veterans out to go fish for 2 days. We're getting all their, they just got to show up at the boat, and we're getting boat paid for, tackle paid for. We're going to get some sponsors to help out with some lures and some other stuff like that, and just go out and have a trip and just get these guys something to do that's going to keep their mind off of other things.
I'm excited about that, just because I've seen
it'd be fun.
What activities like that do for veterans that are kind of down on themselves right now, or at the moment.
Yeah. The at risk, and the 22 a day that take their lives. If we can help just stop one of them a day, we'll be happy to do that.
I've been a part of a few different programs that I've seen it firsthand. I've been behind the camera filming stuff with veterans, Purple Heart guys, and the change in their face from day 1 to day 3 is 100% turned around, from looking like tomorrow's the last day they're living to I have 1,000 more days to live and more.
Yeah. And it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't take much. It just takes the fact that they understand that there's other people out there like them. And there's also people that support them and want them to be around.
I don't think a lot of people understand that. And that's not in just necessarily in the veteran community. It's just in general. I think there's always someone out there that might need to just be told, "Hey, what's up?" And that's all it takes for them to be like, "Hey, I guess someone is listening to me. Someone does care."
Yeah. It's the human brain. It's the reason that we have relationships, the reason we have friends, the reason that those of us that have friends that can relate to our friends so much and understand what those times and any amount of time that you get to hang out together, what it means to you, and helps keep you mentally refreshed. And it's family, it's relationships, it's everything. It's just that human touch and compatibility,
Mhm.
all comes into play there. Just helps
It's
ease your
funny that we're
mind.
talking about this just because D-Day just passed, celebration of D-Day,
Hmm.
and I always watch like Band of Brothers or something that along those lines. And then this time I did watch Band of Brothers, and the interviews that they do with these veterans and the hurt on their face as they're telling these stories, it hurts me watching them just because what they're portrayed in the show is probably only half of what they really saw. And just, if that, yeah.
If
And
that.
watching what they can put in the show was hard to watch. And just imagining what they had to actually see, like the Nazi camps and that sort of thing. Um,
Hmm.
probably really, it was probably really hard for them to bring all that back up, even if they try to put it away for so long.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. Um, you get I mean the biggest thing that I see with doing the Hero Off Road stuff is that we've taken these young men and women and teaching taught them how to be tools of war, killers. We go out there and let them go do that and bring them back, and we don't teach them how to go back and become the person that they were when they left. So some people just have that on switch where you turn it on and it can't shut off. And you see a lot of that a lot of that creating a lot of depression, a lot of needing to be back at that, which they can't at some point, and then they feel pointless, and that's the pointless is where the depression sets in, and all that, and all the worry and fear comes in, and that's how you lose them. But if they came back and we trained them as much as we train them going in to detrain them coming out, we probably wouldn't have the big of a
Wasn't there
problem.
what would you call it, a reassimilation, I guess, for the lack of a better term? Wasn't there some sort of program that they had for a while in the military when guys left?
Um, there's something, but it's not it's not a blanket where it's one size fits all. Here, everyone gets this. Just like when you're training, you've watched um, the military movies, and you've watched as they beat up on one private because he doesn't know how to follow the rules, and they finally break him. He finally gets it, and all of a sudden he's the best soldier, and he's out and he's fighting, he's on everything. But all right, so everyone else following the line, they knew how to follow the rules. This one guy didn't know how to do it. They switched him on, and then they come back and they go, okay, well here's some 10 things that you have to freaking do when you get out. Well, this guy needs a little more than just a list of 10 things. This guy's going to need a little more beat down and training, and really get his hand held. And it's we have a good amount that go in and come back out, and most of them are fine with where they're at, what they come back and reassimilate it in. The problem is there's the ones that can't get back in. Those are the ones that really need
Mhm.
the extra hand holding. They need the extra training. They need the extra um, compassion, one on one. Just just give them that knowledge that we know that they need more.
A friend of mine is um, an Army vet. um, I don't know how long it took him to go from Army to his next job, which was federal corrections. Um, but he ultimately left that job and for his own reasons. And I was talking to him about his maybe his next plan. You know, what's next for him? And I was asking him about different placements that the military has for veterans, and without even knowing, I kind of said, why doesn't the military just automatically give the first opportunity, first refusal, like the post office, something that is subsidized by the government? Give them first refusal to jobs for these positions. And for the most part, he said that they do if there is a criteria. So wouldn't it make sense, and it probably does make too much sense, for the government to have a different kind of GI Bill that gives them the basics to get into a beyond entry level position that they can use those skills to enhance and develop in that position and go forward.
Yeah, it would be a great program, but
Yeah,
it's a government.
that's why I said it probably makes too much sense.
It makes 100%. But yeah, it's funny is that my dad worked for the post office, and there was basically he just said it was kind of like the job for a lot of the military guys that they can go out there and get a job pretty easily at
Yeah,
the
my
post
neighbor
office.
as a kid was a Navy vet, and he was a postman. I remember him always coming home wearing his office outfit. And then as I got older, um, I noticed every memorial, every Memorial Day, um, 4th of July, he always really did up his house with American flags, and then kind of put it together that he was a Navy vet.
Hmm.
Super nice guy. I think he originated from Arkansas, and then relocated to Southern California after World War II.
Yep. So probably did some time in San Diego, and then just ended up maybe just Southern Cal, just because the job
That's
market
how my
was
family
easy.
got to Southern California. My grandfather was in the Navy,
Mm.
World War II, originally from New Mexico, and put his roots in Southern California when once he got out.
Mm. Well, it's a pretty big thing that you come out here. You get a lot of Navy in San Diego, Marines in Oceanside at Pendleton, and they come back here and either decide to stay here or build their roots here and become
Yeah,
part of the community.
I knew a lot of guys. They're friends, friends of mine, either their family or someone. They all always went to Pendleton for basic for Marines, and then for Army. Um, for whatever reason, the West Coast guys always went to Mississippi, or there's another. Yeah,
To
or there was
Biloxi.
another one. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I think it was in Texas. Oh,
Texas.
I can't remember where it was
Not
exactly,
sure.
but it seemed like most of them went to Mississippi. That's where my cousin went actually when he went to the Army.
Yeah, that would be probably Biloxi. Biloxi Blues was the movie.
Oh, was it the Ferris Bueller guy? What's his
Yeah,
name?
exactly.
Yeah,
Matthew Broderick.
they should do it. That would be a movie that I would love to see a reboot of, and have the modern day Ferris Bueller, because the technology these days he can probably get away with so much more. And actually, or
Or
not.
not.
And if
Or
they're
not.
listening, it might be a good idea just to have Ferris Bueller Jr. and Ferris Bueller being the actual dad. And I think Sloane's dead, so they'd have to replace Sloane with someone. The actual Sloane, she actually died. Yeah, so they'd
Oh,
have to
she died.
replace
Okay.
her. Cameron, maybe he has a kid, or he's dating Cameron's daughter or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That could
those
work.
movies back then were awesome. 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, The Breakfast Club.
Still one of my favorites.
I just saw 16 Candles 2 days ago, I think. I actually had it on just for kind of like background noise. And then I ended up just watching it.
Just sitting watching it. The
The Donger.
Donger.
I think everyone knew someone like that. That's probably why they had that character in there.
Yeah, of course. The exchange student pop in there and go wild because his family
Yeah,
wasn't
like
around.
the Amish kid on Raumschlinger or something.
There you go. Yeah, just getting away from authority.
The 80s. The 80s sucked enough to be great. It was a horrible time for music. It was a horrible time for fashion. And it was good enough that kids these days are bringing those styles back for fashion. For music, not so much.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's terrible.
I mean, I'll be the first to say it. The long hair, the hairband stuff, I don't get it. I don't like it. It was never my thing. I never understood why a guy would want to grow his hair long. Not because I always shaved my head or anything. It's just because that was the thing. You know, you had a nice, tight haircut all the time. Long hair for a guy always looked sloppy to me. Sorry if that offends anyone, but that's just.
But if you put all kinds of hairspray in it and tease it, then it's
so
okay.
much worse.
Nothing that a can of Aquanet can't fix.
I mean, even hair wax for guys that had moderately long hair, you're getting to a point there where it's almost too much. Or it was not hair wax, hair grease. Maybe it's the same thing. Yeah,
Hair
it was
grease?
like a balm.
Oh, yeah, like the greaser.
Yeah,
just
there you go.
slick back your hair.
I don't know what they use, pomade or
Pomade. What is it? Nope. Something happened here. I don't know what's happening here. Something just popped up like super loud.
stop fidgeting
I
with
don't
your
know.
microphone.
I have a hard time sitting. If no one can tell, I'm trying to not do stuff, and my hands want to go everywhere. I want to get up and just like walk around. Like I'm on the phone, and I have the phone in my hand, and I'm pacing. If I'm on the phone, I don't know how I have to sit here and just be here. It's really hard for me to do this.
I knew a sales guy that would take a lot of his calls outside and pace while he's on the phone,
Mm-hmm.
and he would not have it on speakerphone, but have the phone just to the outside of his mouth and almost yell at the phone and talk to whoever it is, and then put the phone back to his ear when he was done talking.
Yeah, that's what I do. I walk the entire house.
You're mental. You need help.
Yes, probably. No, not probably. 100%. There's no probability to it.
This is what happens when you grew up in the 80s. You were tied to a telephone the entire time. You couldn't break away from it.
No, I can't say that because we always had cordless phones.
You never had, well, you had to have a corded phone. At
Well,
some point.
early, but by the time I was a teenager, we had wireless. We had pulled the antenna up, and it was like almost like a brick phone. That was your wireless phone at home.
We had one of those too, but they didn't work that great. And for whatever reason, they would always be thrown. So the battery would always pop out, and the battery door would always be like so janky. And then I remember I finally convinced my dad to let me put my own line in my bedroom. And then I went on the hunt for long telephone cords.
Yeah, no, we had 2 bases, with two phones, and it was pick it up, pull the antenna out, and sit there and talk and walk where you needed to walk.
Your ringtone is so old person. It's so
Well,
FUD.
it's weird because my ringtone is never on, and I was expecting a call today, so I turned it on. Usually, it just buzzes in my pocket, and I choose to not answer it.
Not
But
everyone
today I
knows.
had to answer. So today I had to answer a call, so I had to turn the ringer on. But otherwise, the ringer is off, and I'm not answering. Freaking text me.
Speaking of text, I'm sure you had a pager.
I had a pager.
Did you have the two-way pager too?
Didn't have a two-way pager. Just had the just single line pager.
I got mine from Costco, my first one.
Costco. I got mine. My first one was I don't know what it was. It was a little hole in the wall shop on Beverly Boulevard next to the hippie music store that sold bongs.
Costco used to have like an inside deal with Pac Bell. That's when Pac Bell was a company.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if I convinced my mom to buy me one or if I had the money myself to buy one. But we were in there and I had wanted one already. And I think they had a special on them. And I think that's probably why I bought it, is because there was a special. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. I was tight with my money, kind of.
I'm trying to think of like, I remember they were like $100 and you get like the first 6 months for free. And it was like then it was like $5 or $6 a month for, I guess it was unlimited text. I don't know what really they were charging you for, but
that's a good question.
I guess it is using a phone line somewhere, so someone's got to pay.
I mean, it was basically just a relay.
Yeah. So whoever was calling you was using the phone line, so it would go to somewhere and relay and go to you. So who needed to get? I guess they got to manage the relay towers or the relay system.
Man,
that's what you paid for.
The 80s.
Terrible technology.
And I already asked you a while ago about turtlenecks, didn't I? Let's tell everyone. Did you have a turtleneck?
Yes, I told you. It was the style. It was you had mocks and you had turtles.
Dickies?
No, I was never Dickies.
You never wore the Dickies?
Never wore Dickies.
Not Dickie pants. There was an actual turtleneck.
The one under. Yeah, that little half.
Yeah,
the little half. Yeah, that Dickie. I'm like Dickies. I'm like, no, I don't want Dickies. Okay, yeah, but the Dickie, yeah. I recall also. I couldn't find one, a Dickie. And I had an old mock turtleneck that had a hole in the back of it, and I just cut it, put it over.
Well, it's funny you say that because in junior high, I wore them all the time. I love turtlenecks. I had an obsession with turtlenecks in junior high, and this one day it was just so stupid hot, and I ended up cutting the sleeves off and leaving the turtleneck part of it. And a teacher in a later class thought and asked if I was wearing a Dickie. I was like, no, it's a turtleneck, but I cut the sleeves off. And he's like, that's pretty much a Dickie.
Yeah, that you wore your turtleneck under your Cosby sweater.
That or jersey.
Yeah, that would work.
Jerseys were big back then, remember? Everyone wore like a basketball jersey or oh God, what were they called? Starter jerseys.
Yeah.
Everyone had a starter. Man, the 80s. If the music was better, it would have been so much better. Fucking 80s. If I can go back in the time machine, I would go back to the 80s. I would have fixed the music, and then I would tell people,
Stop wearing.
don't change the design of the Dorito bag. Leave the design
Leave
of
the
the
Doritos
Dorito
alone
bag.
and take out
Leave the Doritos
and take out
alone.
those Cavaricis.
I had Cavaricis for 1 year,
I had a bunch of them,
and I had cross colors too.
I don't think I had cross colors. I had Cavaricis, and we used to go to the fashion district in LA, downtown LA, and yeah, they were probably all knockoffs, but it was cheap, and that's what my parents could afford. So we went down there, and that's how I got my school shopping done.
Do you remember that TV show Parker Lewis
Yes,
Can't Lose?
one of my favorite shows back then.
Everyone had that silk shirt that he always wore. It was like a silk, all over design,
yeah, full
long
design,
sleeve
yeah.
shirt. I think they called them Parker Lewis shirts.
I don't recall.
Not officially, but like that's what people called
probably at the time. That was the show of the era for the age, and everyone would just follow the trend.
That was a good show.
It was a good show. It's one of my favorite shows. Although I did try to watch it recently, I went, "This is a terrible show. I can't watch this."
So funny thing that happened to me with Malcolm in the Middle, and it only happened during the intro, and I was like, wait a minute. First, I was like, this is a different. They changed the song, and it looks different and everything. They probably did it because it's in syndication now, but I started watching. I was like, oh my god, this is so funny. It hasn't really lost its appeal.
Trying to think if I watched it recently. I can't say that I have. I'm at the look now.
It's pretty good. That and News Radio.
I don't think I ever watched News Radio.
Phil Hartman, Andy Dick, Dave Foley, Joe Rogan. It was a New York news radio show, and it was about fodder about news radio, basically, like what happens at a news radio station.
I don't think I ever really watched that.
I think it was on for 2 or 3 seasons, and then Phil Hartman was murdered by his wife, and then they stopped the show because of that character no longer living.
Now I have to find it. I know the name, but I don't think I've ever really watched it.
Phil Hartman used to be on SNL also.
Yeah, I know all those names, but it was, for me, 80s were a blur. Well, not that way, but kind of that way, but not really. No, I was younger. I was never really home. I worked so I could play. So I worked at Smart and Final, and I went in at like 4 a.m. till like 4:00 in the afternoon, and we'd get the truck would come in every 3 days, and then I'd do that for 2 days a week, and then work 8 to 10 hours early morning to afternoon, come home, nap, and then get ready and go out and cruise the boulevard, go out to wherever. But they paid me really well, so I always had a shit ton of money. I lived at home, so I had very minimal bills, and I got to do what the hell I wanted to. So I don't think I really stayed home and watched a lot of TV back then. Probably why some of these shows are unfamiliar.
What about Silver Spoons?
A little bit. I know the premise. Ricky Schroeder, or Rick Schroeder now. Ricky Schroeder, and that. But I couldn't tell you episodes or anything like that. Probably a little go a little further back is the shows that I most remember.
Hmm. All right, let's see if I can find one that you fondly remember. Um, A-Team.
A-Team was, yeah, that was a little more early '80s, so that was my time. Plus, plus, I watch it all the time. That's like on my old man TV, and
AMC.
no, AMC, no, I have a TV that has this old uh, Me TV on it that I get to watch old people shows on. I get to watch old Adam 12, Emergency, Highway Patrol, the
Oh
A
God.
Team, Magnum PI. Like all the old classics are always on the Me TV.
Emergency was my
Yep.
jam. I wanted to be a firefighter because of that show.
Yeah. So I that's a that and anything Mr. T does, I'm in. He uh he had this show, um I Pity the Fool. I think that's what it's called. It was just like a video show where he just like those shows like America's Funniest Home Videos, but Mr. T was the host.
Oh,
I think it was called I Pity the
that
Fool.
must have been
It's
awful.
awfully terribly good. It's Mr. T. You can't go wrong.
Man. It's funny you worked at Smart and Final because that was my favorite place to buy Coronas. They always had them stupid cheap, and you can buy limes there at the same time. And there's always a Smart and Final
They
somewhere.
used to be everywhere. Now they're nowhere.
Really?
Well, maybe it's just here, but it used to be like they were everywhere, and now it's like I don't think I've seen one in a while. I think there's one in the Phoenix area near Tempe. I think there's only one, and I don't even know if it's open anymore. I have to check.
I think Trader Joe's is expanding east more now.
Mm-hmm. We just got one last year, and I live in Podunk, Arizona.
In the very green area of Phoenix. That is not very desolate as people imagine. Like I imagined.
Oh, well, it really depends on where you're at and what you consider desolate. I mean, here let's take a field trip. Let's see if this will.
I hope we don't have any technical difficulties.
No, I'm just gonna turn it and see if you can actually see. No, you can't.
Can't really see.
It's a little too bright out there, and the camera's not adjusting. So
Lovely home though.
so essentially, there's mountains up around me. There's really nothing back here, so it's just kind of the middle of nowhere. I'm. What do we got here? Closest store is a Walmart. That'll tell you kind of where I'm at. It's 20 minutes to a grocery store, 20, 25, 30 minutes to any restaurants or anything real. There's some other local ones here, but there's nothing that great. Really, if I want to go anywhere, your Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, or to Phoenix, and Phoenix is 60 miles from here. So I'm a little out of the way. But the nice thing is, I'm 10 minutes to a trails. There's some other dirt things I can do for testing over on this side of the house over here. So it's
Nice.
it's pretty nice and chill out here and tucked away from everything.
That's one thing that I'm excited about where I live. I'm an hour and change, maybe an hour and 20 minutes from Nashville. Small town. I have a corner store That's about a half a mile away. It's the closest thing that has gas. And then the main strip, the main street, it's very small compared to where we're from, where
Mhm.
a lot of people are from, probably. Um, and it's got the old fashioned, town square.
Nice.
It was pretty cool to see that for the
Yeah.
first time. I'm really excited this year about being able to shoot off fireworks for the 4th of July. I've never owned a home before. I've always been in an apartment, and every time I've lived in an apartment and tried to shoot fireworks, I got the cops
All the
called on.
Karens.
So, yeah, all the Karens, or there was fire restrictions and that sort of thing. So now,
And you can
living
get good
in
ones.
Freedom State,
You can get good ones too.
yes, the ones that
Yeah.
leave the ground and
Yeah.
go kaboom.
It's funny is that I live in a freedom state, but we're also a very dry state, so there's some restrictions on what can fly in the air and what can't fly in the air. But if I go to the neighboring dry state that can burn to the ground at any minute now, they sell really good fireworks.
See, I used to just only be able to buy the sparklers, the ground flowers, the cones. I don't even think Roman candles.
Not
couldn't even get Roman
not
candles.
at the old Red Devil or Freedom fireworks stands.
Yeah, but now, get
Yeah.
the good shit.
Yeah.
Get the redneck shit.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that my friend Matt always says, that you get to enjoy being white.
Yeah, exactly. What's funny is I have to go to the res for these good fireworks. Yeah,
Oh, really?
in just outside of Vegas, there's a gas station. It's on the reservation. So leave Vegas, head towards St. George. It's about an hour out of Vegas. Maybe not an hour. Maybe 45 minutes out of Vegas. And you walk and you go into this. It's like a truck stop gas station. You go in the store,
Mm-hmm.
and it says fireworks, and you don't really think much of it until you walk through this door and you're in this giant tent, and it's like a circus tent. And all it is pallets upon pallets stacked up, as far as you can see, of every type of firework that you can imagine. Bricks of firecrackers, M80s, bottle rockets, the little balls that drop in the cannon that shoot up into the air. I mean, kind of everything you can imagine.
What's that line from Joe Dirt?
yeah, exactly.
You don't have any zippity doo dahs, or
yeah. I have to get it.
God, I wish I had a better memory.
I know the line, but I can't
It'd be
repeat
a lot
it.
funnier right now. Yeah, it'd be a lot funnier right now if my memory wasn't shot.
But that's there. Or
don't do drugs, folks.
Or you go to New Mexico, and you're not really on the res, but a lot of those stops are kind of linked to the reservation. And then there's signs like every 100 yards. Treats for your girl, fireworks, Mexican blankets, Indian jewelry, pottery, native pottery, this and that, fireworks.
The last time I was on an Indian reservation, I was dropping off a girl that I had met out in Indio.
Oh.
Near Palm Springs. That drive sucks from LA.
Mm-hmm. Did you pick her up out there?
Yeah, I picked her up. I picked her up just outside at her friend's house. God, I can't remember the name of the city, but it's right outside. God, again with my memory. Anyways, yeah, she was from Indio. Dropped her off in Indio. And it was funny because my car was fixed up at the time, really nice. And when I pulled into the reservation, for whatever reason, I thought, oh, I'm going to show off a little bit. So I put on my ground effects, my lights. And I pull up to her house and drop her off. And her brother and cousin walk out and walk up towards my car. And I'm thinking, oh, fuck. I'm going to get jumped. I'm on a reservation. No one's gonna help me.
There's holes in the ground out here.
Yeah. So all of a sudden they're like, "Hey man, that's a nice car. How'd you get those lights under there?" And they're talking to me. They're really cool about it. But yeah, I thought for sure I was a goner. I did one time actually think I was going to get murdered by a girl's dad because I was dropping her off at her house in El Sereno.
Oh yeah, you're getting killed there.
And she
Fucking killed.
and she lived in the part of the neighborhood that didn't have streetlights. So she gets out and she closes the door, and for whatever reason, I swear I thought I saw her go around the back to go across the street. But she didn't, and I let the clutch out, and I hit her when I was looking over my shoulder. I didn't see her, and I hit her. Like not hard, like just barely. Like at the last second I saw her, and I stopped and everything, and she freaked out and lost her fucking mind. Started screaming and calling me an asshole, and never see her again. And all of a sudden, Dad! And I was like, oh fuck. This was a big dude. I just jumped in the car and I just took off. Because I didn't know if he had friends, neighbors, cousins, brothers, other relatives that lived in that neighborhood down the street, next door, or what. And in that neighborhood, someone's likely to have a gun.
I would assume that everybody in that neighborhood has a gun.
What's funny is I'm watching these shows on HGTV about flipping houses, and these houses in these neighborhoods now are going for over $500,000. Easily.
Over $1 million. So the old neighborhood next to Pioneer, you know, that neighborhood that hasn't changed much, those houses are $750,000.
That's insane.
Like, why? How? And they're still 1960s. Been painted once or twice, maybe, but most of them you're gonna pull the art off the wall and have the smoking stain, the nicotine stains around the pictures because they haven't been painted in 50 years, shag carpet and all. Yeah, $750,000 for a house you have to gut. Yeah,
that's crazy. How are people that making minimum wage in California affording houses at those prices?
They're not. So all those people live in the Riverway near Angel Stadium. Tent cities are everywhere. It's craziness. I don't know. I had to leave.
A lot of places are getting like Colorado's like that. That's why one reason why we left Colorado. The same house that we have here in Tennessee, equivalent with land, would probably be around $730,000.
Yeah, and you're talking like $730,000 like outside where you'd have to commute in for 4 hours. Yeah. Whereas if you had to go to Nashville right now, and even though Nashville's what are you 40 miles from Nashville?
About 65.
Yeah, you could get there an hour and 20 minutes, probably even at the worst, maybe 2 hours.
Yeah.
So,
and you're still under 400 for a 3-bed, 2.5 bath, loft, extra room, garage, 2-car garage, minimum quarter acre.
Yeah, it's definitely craziness what things are. Even here, the house in our neighborhood that just went up, $1.15 million. And I'm sitting here just going, I hope they get it.
But don't get it twisted. I'm in an area that is in the country. I purposely wanted to live in the country. I didn't want to really have a lot of neighbors because I don't like people, and I wanted that, that separation. So I purposely thought to myself, okay, what area in the Nashville, Middle Tennessee area is going to take 20 years, maybe 30 years to expand as it has in Murfreesboro, where I
Hmm.
used to live. Because 20, 30 years ago,
Where is
Murfreesboro
it
was
just
just a
downtown? It's
drive-through
just the
town.
downtown area. There's
There was
nothing, and
nothing.
now it's
Yeah.
exploded in Murfreesboro. It's crazy to see how much there is in Murfreesboro. I've always thought, knowing uh, Andrew, Jason Rogers, and then Chambliss coming into that business. Those guys are always, yeah, we're Murfreesboro, and I always figured, okay, it's gonna be a little town in the middle of nowhere in the country, and I get there and I'm like, whoa, okay, this is not a little town in the country. This is a pretty big place.
Hmm. And it's
Oh,
growing.
it's
There's a lot more
craziness.
stuff going in right now. And that's another reason why we left Murfreesboro, is because we didn't want to be part of something that's already grown. We wanted to be in the
And
country.
it,
Purposely wanted
yeah,
to be in
and
the
even
country.
where you guys were at the edge of Murfreesboro,
Hmm.
and that was already filling in behind you.
Yeah.
It's just craziness how
Fast.
fast. So even here, I mean, in 15 years, let's see, 2007, moved out here, and it was a 1 2 lane highway that went out here, and part of it was old, whatever. There was dirt roads out to most of the places that we wanted to go. There was street side stands and whatever everywhere, and now it's all built up and crazy. Where again, there's a house here that is 1.15 million, which is ridiculous to me. That
Yeah. I mean, don't get to Nashville is
yeah,
still
really.
expensive. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, Franklin's
Franklin,
crazy.
still
Yeah,
expensive. I mean, there's those areas that are still expensive, and they're gonna be expensive, and they're gonna continue to be just get even more expensive. But areas like Clarksville, nice, inexpensive to live. You're near an Air Force base. You're still in Middle Tennessee. You still have access to a major highway. It's kind of in the country, but there's still a lot of amenities.
hmm
Still a lot of big city stuff
yeah,
to go to. Um, we already mentioned Murfreesboro, Hendersonville, same way. Rather inexpensive. It's getting a little bit more expensive, but
but yeah,
you see what I'm saying. You have your areas that are middle class. You have your areas that are upper class, and they're just going to continue to get crazy upper
and it's
class.
funny is that where I live is not even like that area. I don't live in Scottsdale. I don't live in Paradise Valley. I don't live in that side where those houses, just a track home is now. And we're talking a track home, a 2,500 square foot house on 9,000 square foot is going to be 800,000, 750 to 850 or more. And then you go
Mm-hmm.
from there. I moved out to nowhere so I can get land. So I live on an acre and I don't have a giant house. I have a nice size house, 2,800 square foot. And these houses are now going for like $1 million. And it's crazy to see this because when we moved here in 2007, um, came out to visit some friends who live in this area. And there was signs everywhere. New houses from the low 100s. New houses 120,000. New houses 140,000. So we spent the weekend looking at houses out here. And my house in California was a bear with taxes, Melloru's, and everything else like that. I think we're in that house like $5 grand a month just to be in that house. And then utilities and stuff on top of that. So we're talking like houses in California in that neighborhood were at the high about 700,000. And we're looking at a house going, wait a minute, I can get almost the same house out here, same builder, really similar design, almost except for a single story instead of a 2 story. And we traded that house for $175,000 house
Mm.
with everything that we wanted: 3 car garage, nice size lot for what we wanted, and it all worked out for that. We cashed out, put money down, and I had a $750 a month mortgage.
It's funny how things work out that way.
Well, I've always had luck with real estate, and I don't know if it's luck or just I just look at it and went, okay, this is time to go. First house was bought in Long Beach, right by the Long Beach airport. Rented the house.
Mm-hmm.
The owner's father-in-law passed away. They got like 19 acres in Santa Barbara, and he was selling his house in Rancho Palos Verdes, and then the house that we rented from him, he was selling, and we could buy it for $215,000. And at the time, I was like, "There's no way I can afford it. There's no way we could do it." And then people started coming and looking at the house, and was like, "No, this is our house. We're buying it." So I don't know. We pulled that miracle out of our ass. I don't even know how we bought it. It all just lined up the way it was supposed to be. So we bought it for $215,000. Redid the roof. I redid the deck. I've done a lot of sweat equity. I did have to pay someone to do the roof, and the stucco. We restuccoed the house. We put about 25 into it, or 20 into it, and then about a year and a half later, we sold it for $370,000. And then we bought the house in Riverside. Moved to Riverside, bought that house for $300,000, and then sold it for $500,000, $575,000, somewhere around there. And it just kept going up, and then got to go to Arizona and not pay anything. But it's just weird that the houses now, that $175,000 house that was purchased in 2007 is now a $500,000 house. And we're still kind of in the middle of nowhere.
That's one thing I'm looking forward to, is the equity that we're going to be building into this thing, because for one, we got a smashing good deal. The other thing is we got a lot of upgrades for free. So when they did the appraisal, we were already 20,000 plus. So by the time we put in the fence that's coming this week, we're going to put a fence. We're already doing some other modifications to the house. In 15 years, this thing is going to be, it's going to have some nice equity into it. So that's one thing that
it'll start moving out there as things shift. Biggest change is remote working. You don't have to live in the city to go to a giant office anymore. So now these remote areas are right for people that want to be away from the hustle and bustle, want to raise their families and do what they want to do, and not have to worry about, okay, I can go live in a 1-bedroom apartment in the city, so I don't have to drive 4 hours each way, and I can live where I want, do what I want, and buy a reasonably priced house. Okay, I'm in. So I think that's kind of what's happening out here, is that there's traffic out here. There's a lot of traffic. There's a lot of people that do commute out here, but we took my daughter to the gym last week, and the gym was packed. It was 9 o'clock in the morning, and the gym was packed. I'm like, I thought all these people would be at freaking work. Don't even have around here have jobs? My daughter's like, well, what are you doing here, Dad? I'm like, well, I have a job, but I make my own hours. As long as I'm doing what I need to do for my clients, it doesn't matter if I do it at 9 a.m. or 9 p.m. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. If we didn't work from home, there's no way we can live where we are now. No way.
It makes it very difficult. So that's one of the positives with the remote work and more people getting onto the remote work is that it allows that flexibility. I've worked from home for the last 20 years. I had a couple jobs. I think when I worked for Rigid, I had to go to the office, and then when I worked for ADD, they wanted the office. So other than those 2 jobs where I hated going to an office every day, work from home.
Mm-hmm. I had to commute downtown when I lived in Colorado, into downtown Denver. It was a 10-mile train ride from my apartment.
You lived in Lakewood?
Downtown. Yep. And that train line was along some really raunchy stops that were just ghetto as fuck.
Mhm.
I hated it. Just because, not that I don't like ghetto raunchy people, because
Because you don't.
fucking where I
'Cause
grew
I
up,
don't.
I don't. But it's just, I don't want to call it an inconvenience. I don't know what you call it, but it's, you don't want to be bothered by someone else's
Yeah,
ignorance.
yeah. No, it's just you left for a reason, and you left because you don't want to be part of that crap, and then now you don't want to have to be
Mhm.
pushed back into it.
Yeah. Because the whole time I took that train, I always had protection on me. And I always thought to myself, so one of these days, someone is going to fuck around and find out. And then I'm going to go to jail because I'm the one that brought something on this train that you shouldn't
Yeah.
be having.
Yeah, it's it sucks that you have to get there, and then. But the nice thing is that you recognize it, and you decided that I don't want to do that anymore.
There's one time, I'll probably have so many stories about that stupid fucking train. But there's this one time it was pretty wet out, and I did not want to put my bag on the floor because my laptop was in it with some papers. Didn't want to ruin it, water would just soak right through that bag. So I had it on my seat right next to me, which caused a little bit more room because I'm wearing a heavy coat too. So, that 2-person seat is now almost one and a half persons. So this lady gets on the train and she's looking at me like, well, are you going to move? And so I just look at her and she's looking at me. Train finally starts and train's moving. She's like, well, I was like, well, what? She's like, are you going to move your stuff so I can sit down? I'm like, yeah, here, go ahead. And I gave her a little bit of space to sit. She had enough room for at least 1.5 butt cheeks. And she's like, that's not enough room. Just put your bag on the floor. I'm like, it's wet. I don't want my stuff to get all ruined. And she's like, wow. And she says something about my parents, how they raised an animal. And I literally almost, it took so much in me to not hit her. Because I wanted to hit this fucking Karen so bad.
It's yeah. Yeah, she didn't want to be inconvenienced by your inconvenience of keeping your stuff safe.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, okay, just realize I would have actually given my seat up for her if she wouldn't have been such a cunt.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she just went in on me right away without even trying to be dignified, and I gave her back the same energy.
That's all you can do with people like that.
Yeah. And then people that listen to this and follow me on Facebook will remember this, but there was always one guy that would make sandwiches on the train using the seats as a platform.
Yes.
Do you remember this? It's so fucking gross. All these nasty asses. He doesn't put paper towel down or anything. He just bread on seat, slopping it on with some bread or some cheese and some meat. And
make the damn sandwich at home.
it was so gross.
People.
My only guess is that he lived in a halfway house and he couldn't do it.
Yeah, possibly, but still.
But still, you're right.
Go to the gas station, get a couple napkins. You know those big ones that come out of the little the paper towels, the heavy ones that like canvas.
The ones that say pull here with 2 hands
some
on
of
it.
Those, throw them in your bag, lay one out. I mean, something, anything. I mean, there's free options. There's ways for you to get around this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're making this,
and I always thought,
go ahead.
I always saw midgets.
Little people.
Is that what you call them? Is that the
I don't know.
The
I don't know.
Preferred nomenclature?
It's funny is that Brad Williams is playing at the comedy the comedy club this weekend. I'm like, I want to go see him.
Why does that name sound familiar?
He's the little comic.
Oh, okay. Who's that other comic that everyone's so gaga about right now? All these girls.
Oh, Matt Rife.
Yeah. Is he funny? I'm not sure I know him.
He's funny, but he's not $500 funny.
$500 a
paying
ticket?
like 500 plus. I mean, on average, I think depending where it's at, it's like $200. I'm like, I'm not paying $200 to be in the back of a freaking auditorium to watch a guy that's somewhat funny. $25 at the comedy club with a 2-drink minimum, I'm in. $300, $500, I'm out.
You know who Josh Blue is?
That guy's
funny. I've seen him in Denver. He's from Denver.
Yeah, he's been here. You saw him here at there's two comedy clubs here, one in Phoenix, one in Tempe. I think you saw him in Phoenix. But yeah, we get a nice group of comedy that come through here that are pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Comedy is one thing that I don't want to say it's going away, but it seems like people are tiptoeing their jokes.
Oh yeah.
Some people. And you can tell. It's like when a boxer's pulling punches. Mm-hmm. You can tell.
It was the demise of Comedy Central. Comedy can't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You can't have a joke about anything with race, even if it was created by people of the same race anymore. You just like see like Tanner sends me a bunch of Tanner Rick sends me a bunch of I don't know, videos or whatever in Messenger, and it's all comedians and stuff like that, and it's like they're all dodging the funny. It's all like, what the hell happened? What are we doing? It's all skirted and it's anytime that there's a joke, oh, that's just so racist. I'm like, well, yeah, it's a black comedian doing a black joke. It's a white comedian doing a white joke. It's a Mexican comedian doing a Mexican joke. It's a Chinese comedian doing a Chinese joke. So, oh, it's so demonic. I'm like, get over it.
Can't we all just get along?
Oh, Rodney. Poor Rodney.
Yeah, I think he died, didn't he? I wonder if Reginald Denny is still alive.
I don't know. Good question.
The trucker that
got the brick thrown at him.
Yep. Yeah. That poor guy. He's just trying to do his fucking job, and he gets routed through the ghetto and pulled out by his hair.
He's probably had pages of MapQuest that he printed out.
Was MapQuest even a thing back then?
Navigating like a pirate with freaking pages and pages.
The Rand McNally.
The Thomas Guide. Remember the Thomas Guide?
Thomas Guide.
So
yeah.
My dad owned a business, so it was always a new client. So it was always like, okay, go to the Thomas Guide. Back to the index. Okay, we're finding this street name. Okay, the street name is here. Then you go to the page and like, so here's it's in D4. All right, D4. Oh, there it is right there. All right, now you gotta go like figure out the map on yourself and figure out what street you gotta go to and start making your turns and list that all out.
So my dad had his own business also doing concrete pumping. And a lot of his business at first was in Orange County for a long time, a couple of years. And I remember one time he was pissed off that he had to go buy a brand new one because it was outdated.
Kids in new streets.
Yeah,
especially in Orange County back then.
And those things weren't cheap.
No, they weren't. Yeah, Orange County back then when they were building, especially like in the Mission Viejo, Irvine area, when all that was going up, that's probably where he was doing a lot of his A lot of his work was in those
Yep.
areas.
Yorba
Yorba Linda,
Linda.
yep, all those cities that had the boom in the late 70s to 80s. Um, yeah, he'd always have to get like a map or the my dad used to do work for the Mission Viejo company, and the lady used to always have to send him like a drawing of where you're going because there's not even an updated map yet, but it's over here.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah. Now that I think about it, I can't even remember how I used to get to places when I first started driving. I I had to have either been given directions or somehow just knew where it was, but I don't remember ever looking at any maps. Obviously, didn't have MapQuest until what,
Late
late
90s, probably
'90s.
MapQuest, late 90s. Maybe middle
And even then,
90s, but still.
you still had to have the internet
Yeah.
for that,
And a printer,
or a computer at the very least, and a
or you're
printer.
sitting there writing down, okay, I take the 101 to National Boulevard, make a right, and go north, whatever you
Hmm.
did, and yeah, it was a pain. Yeah, I always got the hand me down Thomas guide, so whenever my dad upgraded, I got the old one in my car.
Even in so one of my first jobs, just to kind of like show I had a W-2, um, it was delivering auto parts through like Whittier, Santa Fe Springs, Norwalk, um, that area. We had not a what do you call them, dispatch, and all they would say is it's here's the cross streets, and just because I lived in that area, I knew where those cross streets were, and then I would figure it out from there. But even then, we still didn't have access to you know, quick information
Yeah,
like we do
yeah,
today.
it's yeah. You get to with the map, or like, okay, I know it's turning. Oh, my phone just died. Oh shit. I'm never getting there now.
That's what I was thinking about the other day. We're how to use our phone to get into our garage.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, what if this fucking thing dies one day and I'm trying to get in it and I don't have my key because my front door has a
Mm-hmm.
keypad. Doesn't well, I can use a key, but just so pocket's not constantly jingling and shit. I leave it
Yeah.
at home. But what if one of these days, like the power just goes out? I mean, there's battery power. What if that goes out? What if my phone goes
Mm-hmm.
out? What if the backup on the garage door goes out? Like, then I'm fucked. I have to break in my own
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. We get monsoons here, and the monsoons will take out the power. And when the power
Really?
goes out, nothing works. And then for the longest time, I didn't have a key to my house. So I'm like, shit goes wrong. I'm like, I don't even know what the hell we're gonna do. So you got a keypad outside the garage. I have the MyQ app that opens the garage door, but
Yeah.
there's no power to the garage door. You can't open it. Now apparently the garage door openers now have a battery backup. They give you ability to open the door so many times if there's a power outage. So now I'm looking for one of those. But
That's not what we have.
and then
A lot of our stuff, because it's a brand new build, is super modern. So we have Wi-Fi in the ceiling, upstairs and downstairs. We have Ethernet ports in damn near every single room. It's crazy what options that were available to us. Smart thermostats. So I mean, everything we're using Google for almost everything in this house.
And kind of this house too is like when it started, it was like, okay, we got smart thermostats. I have cameras. The perimeter of the house, I have cameras. There's nothing that can happen in this house that I can't see. Garage door all opens remote. Garage doors open remote. And then finally, recently, we had to put a keypad lock on one of the back doors, just because I I just kept not being able to find my key. I don't carry keys. I have a fob for the truck, and it fits in my pocket. I get in the truck, push the button, and go, and come back, and it shuts when I leave.
See, in the fucking 80s, we walked around with keys
Like
like we
freaking
were
janitor,
a dungeon master.
freaking janitor, freaking
Yeah.
keys. No, and then half the time here. So I'm gonna just out this right now. Half the time, my keys are in my truck, sit in my driveway. I don't lock the truck. The keys are in it. So you come to the house, come in, hit the freaking start button, and gone. It can be gone like that. But
All right.
but
That's good to know.
but it's one of those things. I don't worry about it because there's no one gets in here, no one gets back here.
All right. So now that we know how to get into Armando's house, we're going to end this episode of Chew Quieter. I'm sure if you do break into Armando's house, you will be greeted with a 9mm of some
or an
sort.
old fashioned,
So, or no fashion.
or maybe
On
a
that note,
sidecar.
folks, we're out of here. See you next time.
See you guys.